The CBAN IAMU 2025 Spring Summit is rapidly approaching. It's April 22nd and 23rd of 2025 in Ames, Iowa at the Gateway Hotel and Conference Center. And we want to acknowledge some of the great companies that are going to be joining us at the summit and sponsoring our event. First of all, we want to recognize Kramer Service Group. They're one of our gold sponsors, and we want to thank Brent and the team at Kramer for being a part of the summit. Kramer does infrastructure projects throughout the United States, ranging from South Texas to Alaska and everywhere in between. With a focus on project management, Kramer provides customized services to the information and communications technology sector, along with energy and gas companies, ag industries, and more. Join the Kramer Service Group team at the Spring Summit and chat with them about their services or visit them online at kramerservicegroup.com. We'd also like to give a shout out to the team at Consortia Consulting for being a bronze sponsor at the Spring Summit. The amazing team at Consortia provide broadband providers with regulatory support and much more. Stop at the summit, say hi to the Consortia team. Also joining us as a bronze sponsor at the summit is Harmonic. Not only will Harmonic have an exhibit table in our exhibit floor, but they will also be participating in our panel discussion, PON Disruptors, to talk about new fiber access platform options. The folks at Harmonic will be there. We hope you'll join us.
Welcome to Broadband Action, CBAN's podcast about all things broadband. I am today's host, John Willow, and Christa is in the background acting today as producer. Really excited for today's guests from Rural LISC. We have Joshua Williams and Christa Vinson. I don't know your titles, but you're welcome to share them if you like. The reason we got connected with Rural LISC, we got connected in conversation, and I discovered something I wasn't aware of before, and that is a fantastic program they offer for broadband support, in particular for communities who are looking to implement local broadband. So that's right in our strike zone, and we're excited to have them here today. Hi, guys. How you doing?
Doing great, John.
Great.
Thanks for having us.
So I would like to start with a little bit of conversation about Rural LISC and all the things you do, because as the nation's largest nonprofit, which is quite a sleeper cell thing, I don't know if anyone really understands that, and one of the oldest, LISC reaches into almost every corner of people's lives, whether they know it or not. So for our audience in particular, our broadband audience, and our audience in smaller communities and also urban communities, people who do tend to be marginalized and who are working towards getting out of that. Let's talk about LISC and how we're supporting broadband.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for having us, John. And Joshua and I are part of the national program at LISC, the National Rural Program. At LISC, like you said, is a large nonprofit. We're a nonprofit intermediary, so we work with and through community-based organizations all over the country and in cities and rural places. And broadband digital opportunity is one of our focus areas, and it really came into focus for us as an organization in hearing on the ground what communities needed to navigate the pandemic. And we have a lot to share about what we've been doing since then to unlock opportunity through technology and broadband internet connection in communities across the country.
Well, that is really fantastic. I think I would like to hear a little bit about how you and Joshua got involved in this work too. So many of our members are true advocates for life, whether they're working in the broadband space or not. So it's always good to find fellow travelers. Welcome. And so Joshua, you and I had an opportunity to talk a few weeks ago, and I was really fascinated with your journey into broadband. But let's talk a little bit about how you got involved with LISC and what kind of work you're doing to support broadband communities.
Yeah, so I have a background in finance, and I transitioned over to education and became a teacher, school leader. And in my last year of school leadership, the pandemic hits and kind of got tagged in to lead our digital access efforts for students and their families to keep them connected from home. And it got me involved with working with T-Mobile, Harris County Commissioner's Court here in the Houston area, and the Texas Education Agency. And in doing that work, I came across another nonprofit called Fuse Corps, a national nonprofit that supports local government agencies in efforts to connect people who need connection. And they said, hey, the city of Houston, their Office of Innovation would like support someone to be a management consultant to help them along the way with their digital access initiatives and master planning, RFIs, RPs, the whole shebang. And did some work with the City of Houston's Office of Innovation and IT department for about 2.5 years. And once my contract expired, went over to support an engineering firm to lead their digital access team. And once my department got merged and got disconnected from that organization, I came across LISC. And what excited me about it is the opportunity to build with a team of people. Christa leads the way, and we have some consultants that work alongside with this as well. But it was an opportunity to build with rural and urban areas that are suffering from lack of connectivity and digital literacy.
And Christa, that's actually a great stage, it sounds like, to how the two of you came to be together doing this work, and the work that you've been working on, it sounds like, since 2019 with digital adoption and inclusion.
Yeah, absolutely. I joined LISC in 2020, and I'll share a tiny bit about my personal background. I started an organization along with some other leaders in the field called NC Broadband Matters. And I was trained in economic development and was in a career in North Carolina and had an opportunity to help start this nonprofit organization. And this coincided with the pandemic as well. Like I said, I joined LISC in 2020, but for several years prior to that, I was offering webinars and trainings and creating opportunities for community leaders to come together and ask their questions and get those questions answered so they could advance strategy in their community to bring reliable internet service if they didn't have it before, or think about the economic development potential that comes from a connected community. So that was a great kind of training ground to bring to LISC, which, as we've shared, has a national footprint. We work with and through community-based organizations, and we were hearing on the ground from direct human service organizations in particular a real need to understand what type of kind of training or ways that they could reshape their work, their frontline service delivery, in order to respond to households where folks are trying to learn to use telehealth applications or need access to a computer to complete a degree or continue their education, to stay connected to work opportunities and the like. We launched a program that we came to call Digital Connector. We worked alongside a lot of the visionaries in this field building that's happened over the last certainly decade, and very much bringing new organizations and folks into the fold in recent years, to stand up a digital navigation services program that really met the need of the organizations that were in our network. So to date, we have supported with grants, but also training resources and kind of a cohort model that lets learners and leaders learn from one another, 100 organizations in 30 states. So what we've encountered is a real diverse array of doers that when they integrate a program like our Digital Connector program or a digital navigation services program like has been provided by so many other great organizations out in the field, maybe the complexion, the way that the work gets done in their nonprofit organization with technologies of throughput is increasing their ability to meet their mission. And I think one of the things that we're really gratified by in working with so many diverse organizations, whether that's work-facing or community health organizations, libraries, other civic institutions, these are all organizations that have received grant support and training from LISC to do their digital connector work. is just how much organizations have grown as a result of adding that type of programming to their portfolio, and what it's led as far as partnerships and leverage dollars that again can extend the reach of their mission. So we've learned a lot.
I definitely want to get to the technical support piece that LISC offers, but let's talk a little bit about that value proposition. It's the same song that we sing, but I think it's really interesting. You've had so much reach into so many communities that you have. It sounds like you have like just great data on the fact that it's not just a thing you should do because you should do it. It's a thing that grows your organization and stabilizes it. So let's talk a little bit, both of you, about the value proposition of adding inclusion and adoption as part of your service offer, whether you're a nonprofit, a community anchor institution, a local government services agency, or a broadband provider.
Want to kick us off, Christa?
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, you're exactly right, John. So we have worked with, again, a very diverse array of organizations who have sort of defined, opportunity for themselves, and then also kind of leaned into peer relationships. We very intentionally designed our digital connector program with a cohort model, right? So across state lines, across jurisdictions, across, sort of service delivery models and missions, organizations could sort of find common ground in how they were going to stand up this work. And it's very gratifying to be in touch with nonprofits that or partners that we've resourced before and that we're not currently providing grant assistance to, that are still doing this work, right? They have found a way to embed it, and they're carrying that work forward. So we really consider, this network to be a vital network that's continued to do great things. And I would say another thing we'd love to talk to you a little bit about, and Joshua can jump in here, is working with direct service organizations on adoption and inclusion has introduced us to partners that really have a role in planning for broadband infrastructure deployment, and has in turn introduced those organizations to the decision making, that happens in their community that leads to bringing broadband to a community, right? So where we have seen a lot of great work is not just these organizations that have hosted the Digital Connector program, really extending a trusted reach into community and meeting individuals and families and households where they are in terms of their need for reliable, affordable internet access. But also for those nonprofits to enter into a conversation with their local jurisdiction, their economic development organization, right? Whatever sort of forms the partnerships that are trying to make decisions on infrastructure, and give voice to the need in the community, right? So that ultimately, when those investment decisions are made, they reflect, a real broad-based understanding of the need and opportunity. And Joshua can probably say more about that too.
Yeah, and for value proposition, and it makes me think of like, why is this work important? And it takes me back to, again, my introduction to this work during the pandemic. I'm one of those people who learn like, oh, wow, this work that we do, broadband access, digital literacy, having a device, it spills over into every sector, every area of life that, you normally don't think about. I mean, speaking for myself, didn't think about that. Like, wow, okay, this pandemic is going on. Some people can't make it to the hospital. Oh, well, if we get them connected, they have telehealth. Again, my example, my intro was education. So we can get students and their families connected, and kids can continue to learn from home. Or, well, mom or dad needs to work from home. We can get them connected. So, really just pushing that message out and really focusing on the benefits of why this work is important was a big value proposition, and connecting with those agencies that provide services, right? So I started working with the city of Houston, consulting for them, And we put together a digital access work group, and I learned, hey, that this impacts the mayor's office of adult literacy, the library, public works, office of innovation, IT, etc. So just being able to connect with people that service different people that we serve, and their focuses are different, but we have that goal and that common goal of, hey, we need to get people connected with a device and teach them how to use it so they can be independent and engage in this digital world, I should say.
And there's an economic vitality piece to that too,
Yeah.
isn't there? We can really see the bottom line lift when we prioritize adoption, when we prioritize full size devices, and even basic digital literacy skills. ISPs are warming up to embedding some of this programming and support into their own work for a very practical reason. Their service calls, their support calls go down 20 to 40% when they are teaching skills and ensuring that people understand how to leverage their connectivity and have access to those devices beyond a mobile phone, which is not enough. So I imagine that when you're working with your broadband teams, that's a piece of the message. And it was something, Christa, that you touched on in our pregame conversation. Do you have any case studies or examples or even trends that you want to share about that sort of validates how it is an economic prosperity play?
Oh, absolutely. So I'd like to share a couple of things. Just thinking back to what case managers or program managers that participated in our digital connector program told us about the experience of the people that they were working with and serving, and understanding that the folks in the program management position were trying to meet a need as they found it, right? So there might be a case manager who's supporting an individual with onboarding with a mobile phone to use a telehealth application because that makes sense for how that individual is encountering technology. But I couldn't agree with you more that there have been a lot of I think lives meaningfully impacted through access to full-size devices. And so I'd like to share another success story. We consider it a success in supporting a partner who was a digital navigation services program partner. They were an early digital connector partner in our portfolio from Lufkin, Texas Life. Life is a social enterprise, and they have another line of business called Life Tech. And they refurbish computers, and this is a workforce development opportunity. They primarily work with PCs, and we had some support from Microsoft. And through those partnerships, we're able to help Life grow the management of Life Tech beyond the Texas borders to manage the inventory and distribution and onboarding of PC computers among our digital navigation partners, our digital connector partners. So about 25 organizations worked with Life Tech, and the win there was, a phone call that would be, kind of returned from organizations, that were onboarding with these machines and getting to know Life Tech, and for Life to expand their reach and sort of grow this line of business. For that to continue to be an economic engine in East Texas as they've continued to bring new business to the organization, having had the opportunity to stand that up. So in ways large and small, specific maybe to the conditions on the ground, we've seen a lot of really promising economic development, success stories. And East Texas is one of those. Joshua, add on. I know that you're thinking about this.
I'll take a different approach because I want to share an interesting story recently from working with the Digital Connector in Rockingham County, North Carolina. We touched on the economic development. What was really cool about working with this group is toward the end, we have a Q&A session, and someone was really interested in more of a community development approach, saying, hey, we recognize we're going to try to partner with ISPs and these different organizations, but how can you help us develop an innovation hub of our own for our community, where, you know, we can develop a place where people can come, we can help them with their connectivity and the digital literacy, but also maybe we have someone who's maybe they're more advanced and they want to come and have a space to work with people or emerging tech or whatever the case may be. So that was really cool. And I pointed them into, I know you're in Michigan, John, so I pointed them into 313 Connect as an example, and some of the other examples. So
Adam Evans.
Yeah. So we're seeing
amazing
economic development, but also just that influence or inspiration, rather, to, you know, building a community, have a place where I'm a digital connector, but I'm also leading a community tech hub or innovation hub for the people that live in my area.
So if I were listening right now, I would be really intrigued by the possibilities for my own community. Let's talk a little bit about how people can plug into this program, these programs that you're doing. And let's start with technical support. Let's start there.
Sure. Well, I see on the screen, and the viewers can see it too, broadbandplanninghelphub.org. Check us out. It's the landing page for our Broadband Infrastructure Technical Assistance Award Program. So if your project or proposal is awarded a TA award from LISC, that means that at no cost to you, we can help you think through your broadband infrastructure strategy. So this is our most active.
I don't mean to interrupt, but this is at the local community level for local advocates who want to plan for community broadband. That's
right. Yeah. This is our most robust program right now. So we have slots to fill, and we're accepting applications on a rolling basis. And the website that you can see there is the landing page for the program. Encourage folks tuning in to check it out and send us questions. Broadbandhelp@lisc.org. I'm sure that email address will appear here shortly. But why did we stand up this program? Out of a recognition that there were big changes, kind of coming in terms of the grant dollars that would be available to help subsidize broadband networks being deployed in places that didn't have adequate speeds or the infrastructure. We were looking at our own data. We were giving consideration to the geographies and places where we worked. We were looking at broadband availability data, and we were sort of seeing that there were a large number of communities that would probably have questions about whether their meeting their broadband need would put them in a competitive position to apply, for example, a B grant, which is the NTIA Broadband Infrastructure Funding Program. And we wanted to, be as responsive as we could. So we stood up the Broadband Help Hub, and have encountered a lot of projects that I really know no one project is the same, right? So we might have a grassroots community advocate that's really thinking about how connectivity extends the reach of their mission when they're focused on air quality in their neighborhood, and whether connected devices can help extend the reach of their mission. We have helped community planners that are trying to make the business case and understand kind of the financing and capital stack development in order to pay for that infrastructure deployment that will clearly meet a demand that they've been able to identify. We've had ISPs apply for this program. We've had economic development organizations, local governments, nonprofits, grassroots community organizations. We'd really like to hear from you. If you are trying to advance broadband infrastructure in your community, or really that downstream opportunity with adoption, utilization, and broadband as an economic development driver, our team very well may have the ability to advise you and help you move your solution forward.
So, and you work with a coalition of experts in the public and the private sector to offer this support. Is that a correct understanding?
That's right. We've retained an external team of consultants who we were joking before, John. you like to think of expertise chronologically rather than cumulatively, but we've got a group that probably represents 100 years of cumulative experience in this industry. We're working with folks that are that have really been in the broadband planning game since the dawn of the commercial internet, and really care about all communities moving forward and bring a lot of technical acumen, a lot of experience, and so. Internal resources at LISC and this external team of the Broadband Help Hub, we hope is helping a lot of communities move forward.
And so if I were a community interested in working with your services, I could go to your website, I could fill out the application, and then if I qualified for your support, I imagine that we would work together to figure out what my community needs. And the support that I would receive would come in the form of advice and resources as opposed to a cash grant. But you, as I understand it, you can help with some mapping functions, with some financial feasibility work, even with maybe some lightweight pre-feasibility and geographic evaluation kinds of things for people, right? Some of the things that can cost an organization who doesn't understand the lay of the land yet. We've seen communities shell out really a lot of money sometimes just because they don't know what they're asking for and they don't know what they need. It's not that people are intentionally taking advantage. It's just that sometimes you need guidance, and it sounds like this program really helps people understand what they need and get the things that they actually need up to a point so that they don't have to start writing checks immediately before they even have a strong sense of direction. Does that sound right?
Yeah, fair point. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And two other areas, workforce development as well. We've supported organizations that they're thinking about, or they're exploring the idea of, hey, we want to maybe become our own ISP, and we also want to build a local workforce that can support this ISP. So we've helped in that area as well, and just partnership building as well. Maybe we've crossed the finish line, we've done all that we can do, and it no longer lies with us. But maybe there's a partner that we can introduce an organization to continue their work. But I'm with you. Yeah, I work for an engineering firm, so it can be expensive. If you don't know who you can connect with and the right questions to ask, and you just don't know what you know. So I think working with us can alleviate a lot of the cost and the stress of trying to figure this thing out.
That fear can really keep people from even leaving.
Yeah.
So that is really terrific. Now, you need to be careful what you say, Joshua, because I just thought I might have heard you implicating that you can help people train ISP workforces, in particular, like provider workforces. Now, every provider who's a member of CBAN is always looking for more qualified field technicians and journeymen. Are you saying that, like, if asked, that's a resource that you might be able to connect people with, or is that digging down in the weeds a little bit?
It may be digging down the weeds. Like I don't think we went that far, but we did help develop the workforce development strategies and identify the partners that organizations can connect with. And they have more of the expertise there around workforce development. But again, like Christa mentioned, we have pros in the space that have done a lot of the work. So we helped organizations develop their workforce development strategies and did like partner introductions.
That's fantastic.
That's safe to say, right?
That is really fantastic. Again, trust is a huge piece of it. And when you were talking about individual community advocates, it reminds me of a CBAN member in Allegan County who was a lone force. It was her. She was just her, and she's a grown woman, and she figured it all out piece by piece by piece by piece, and she took advantage of every resource similar to what you do that she could find. And last December, she was honored at the White House by then President Joe Biden for being a local broadband champion. She actually almost, not single-handedly, she built a coalition of the willing over time, but she was the genesis of this community-based broadband. And it's been a long journey for her, and she has so much to be proud of. But those individual advocates, sometimes, her work is responsible for connecting thousands, or is the genesis of how thousands and thousands of people got high quality fiber broadband to their door. And those are people that have more passion than knowledge. So when they start out, so it sounds like this is a really safe and productive space for people to land at the beginning of their journey for that.
Oh, for sure. Well, I love that story, and I have encountered it, elsewhere. Those committees of one are small but mighty. And you said something else too that I hope we are able to address at least a little bit with the Broadband Help Hub, which is that it can require some serious momentum and a desire to go the distance, right? So figuring this out is not like an overnight enterprise. And what we have hoped we could do with the Broadband Help Hub is, with a rapid response, really answer those key questions. And our favorite outcome from this program so far is participants who have said that was just in time information that I needed to have in hand in order to take the next step, right? Whether that was committing a match funder, which happened in one case, or making a decision about participating in an opportunity that was sort of right in front of them, and whether to go, no go. So those are the communities we hope we encounter. But certainly, to your point, John, it's a journey, and we welcome applicants from any stage in the journey, and hope we can help advance your broadband question, your plan a little bit further down the line. If not to a solution that sort of lights up your community, and is a great success story that you can tell, whether that's a White House invitation or something a little bit more modest, but for sure, want to be helpful where we can be.
And the field needs all of us. There's so much work to do. There's plenty of work for everyone. So that's the technical assistance program. I'm really interested in also talking a little bit about the digital connectors program, which I did not know until very recently was actually the progenitor of what we look at now as the modern digital navigator program. And LISC was in there right on the front lines at the beginning of that. Let's talk a little bit about how that program developed, because that's a really great story. Let's also talk about how people can tap into those services now, and what that program does.
Well, sure. So I think, as we said before, we're resourcing, frontline organizations through philanthropic grant support that came through LISC that we were passing through to these organizations, and working very closely with, I'd like to say that we count ourselves as peers among a tremendous group of leaders. I'm sure you're thinking of the National Digital Inclusion Alliance and others that have done a lot to bring practitioners together and really sort of problem solve to put offerings out in the world that really respond to a need and help communities advance. And so, I think our major discoveries with our digital navigation program is, one, we decided to call it the Digital Connector Program, because that came from sort of this positive feedback loop we had with participants. And actually the Rockingham, North Carolina partner that Joshua mentioned, who said, the work we're doing is really a two-way street. I'm getting something out of this as a service provider as much as the beneficiary is getting out of it. And, we're making a connection. We changed our name, but the work that we're doing is really what so many of these field builders and practitioners are doing, which is focusing on access to affordable, reliable internet, access to affordable, reliable computers, building skills to use that technology. And we like to add application to that, right? Because we're community developer practitioners. We are also a community development financial institution. Another word for that is nonprofit bank. So we, work to resource community projects, that double down on an investment in a place. And so the application of infrastructure, whether that's going to attract a new employer or, retain a workforce in a place because internet is available, is something that we really think about. So our main contribution probably to this incredible array of practitioners and great work and insight that's been brought to the question of what does it mean to be a person in the 21st century where technology is such a driver in our lives. I think our main contribution is recognizing that any deeply rooted organization can do this work, right? So we appreciated learning from the community health organization, the library, the fire station, right? The youth opportunity youth program, the immigrant services organization, right? That we're all bringing the digital connector program into their work and figuring out how adding that resource that helps folks use technology, in fact, expanded the reach of their other services, help them think about the role of technology in the operations of their nonprofit. I just got a call today from a previous digital connector partner in Little Rock, Arkansas, who did a great job 2 years ago in our program and is thinking about what's next and wanted to talk about it. So really building this network of practitioners who are in touch with each other, who are extending their own reach and meeting a lot of need is what I think we like to think about at the end of the day when we're thinking about what Digital Connector has accomplished.
So if I'm a community or an agency, Joshua, you go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, John. Sorry.
If I'm a community or an agency or someone who's looking to add digital skilling to my offer, and I were to approach LISC about the Digital Connectors program, what would be my experience and what could I expect to have happen? Like what does that entail? How do I become part of this group? And how do I deliver this curriculum, or what is the curriculum? Just a little bit more about the program.
Well, sure. And in fairness, going to our website wouldn't necessarily give you a whole lot of resources to download. I mean, we most of our programs at LISC are really structured through our grant making. So, passing through resources to organizations who then join a cohort and deliver their program of work through their grant relationship with us. But we are looking forward to a 2025 where the 100 or so organizations that have been previous grantees are getting back together, and we're talking about what's next. So I would like to invite folks maybe to be in touch with us through the Broadband Help at LISC.org email address. If you're an organization that's trying to figure out how to navigate towards a digital navigation services program, there's not grant assistance with this kind of connection to our network that we're offering in 2025, but there may be an opportunity to connect your ideas and what you're trying to figure out to a community of peers. So invite your listeners to do that. And then please do check out on our website where we have published research or resources that we hope contribute to the greater good. This website's good, or we can maybe throw another one up on the screen there that takes viewers to resources that we put out there to help housing developers, maybe specifically affordable or nonprofit housing developers, think about the implementation of whether it's a connectivity to their multifamily property and like considerations in planning for improvements therein. That's a valuable resource that we know folks have downloaded. It's a white paper with a lot of great information. Another resource is a web application we built with the Center on Rural Innovation that shows where ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program, where folks took advantage of that benefit at the zip code level, which I think is really insightful to show where there's pockets of need where affordability is a question, so that ACP website is no doubt interesting at a time when I think there was some research just published earlier this week that talked about how ACP was more cost saving than it was a cost, right, for program implementation, right? So understanding what ACP did in your backyard, we encourage you to check out that resource on our website. And then I'm so glad that the CIC, the Community Infrastructure Center website was shared just a moment ago as well. We have partnered with the Milken Institute, which hosts the CIC, and where prospective applicants to the Broadband Help Hub have not found a match with our program. We've referred them to the CIC, and one of the nice features in the CIC is understanding for your project what grants might be available. So they have a really exhaustive list of grants, and the whole platform. The purpose of the platform is to make a match between projects and the big ideas communities have with potential resources, whether that's technical assistance providers or grants that might be a fit for the project that they're working on. So those are just a couple of web-based resources, and whether you're coming for a better understanding of how to work on digital inclusion with Digital Connector, you're a multifamily houser and are thinking about connectivity to your property, have questions about ACP and what it meant for your community, or want to get more help on your infrastructure project, you can check out the CIC. So we encourage folks to check out all of those things. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And actually probably a good place to stick the landing. So we'll round robin a little bit. Joshua, do you have anything else you want to add? Make sure we cover today?
Yeah, I just want to say with you mentioned Digital Connector, and with all of the work, the broadband infrastructure deployment, Digital Connector, whatever the case may be, we meet people where they are. So like your Digital Connector example, your question, we've worked with people that they're at the very beginning stages. We're completely new to Digital Connector, Digital Navigator, digital literacy, but we recognize that our community has this need. Can you do a train the trainer, right? Can you help us build capacity to go out and do their work in our communities? Or maybe you're a little bit more advanced and you're just looking for, I don't know, some other type of support from us. But we meet people where they are, and if you don't have all the questions answered, that's okay. That's why you come and work with us, and we'll help you figure it out.
Love that. Christa, anything else you'd like to add?
Come and work with us and we'll help you figure it out. I think I'd like to leave it there too.
That is a great place to leave it. So I just want to thank our guests, Christa Vinson and Joshua Williams from Rural LISC. Gosh, I just can't wait for everybody to hear this conversation. I think we're all going to be so excited. So that wraps it up for another episode of Broadband Action. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
Mm-hmm.